obviously very excited, a lot of fun, a lot of familiar faces I haven't seen in a while besides you guys in Champaign, so it's fun to be here. Really excited for our group, especially the three guys we have with us today. One update I was going to give, I know it means more to the local media than Mark Mondesir, who obviously is a good player that had been on the defensive side of the ball. He's actually taken a medical, so I want to give this opportunity to give him that. We'll put up more of a release from him, but that is the only roster change really that's different right now. And then a thing that we're all excited about, and I know locally you guys have got a big beat on it. Because of the timing of our game, we're going to actually report earlier, right, than most teams in college football. And I believe the intent of everybody follows through. Every person that's eligible to practice or will be ready for practice number one will be vaccinated. So I think we'll be one of the few teams in college football that can say that, players and coaches. So we're excited about that. Excited about a lot of different things, but I figured I'll just open up for questions that you guys have.
From a roster standpoint, Bret, like Casey Washington, can you talk about what
Yeah.
process
So
and back?
I knew that Mark was the only one that wasn't announced, right? So Casey, I when I first got here, right, had a lot of conversations. Josh did try to get him to stay, but he obviously kind of made some decisions and made a transition to another school. Really, I don't know exactly how it happened, but I was in contact with him that he was interested in coming back after he got back in the transfer portal. But I knew that by NCAA rule he would be ineligible, right, coming back. So didn't know exactly how that played out. We had discussions with our administration, with particularly our compliance office that put forward a waiver. At some point, we made a decision. Listen, we're going to go back and let Casey. I gave him an opportunity to come back on the team. Met with several of our team members, and everybody spoke very highly about Casey and what he brought to the skills, but also as a person. So we made a decision to bring him back as a player, and then it was still in a holding pattern, and we got notification yesterday that the NCAA gave him the full clearance to be immediately eligible, which was kind of a neat conversation, a way to break it to him. Gio and I brought him into my office and kind of gave him a moment's pause, and it was just fun to see his reaction, how much it means to him. So I think, a lot of times in life, you've heard me say it many times, you define more by moments of adversity than success, and he's definitely been through some adversity, so to have him on our roster is a huge blessing. We will actually report on the 1st, all right? And then by NCAA rules, you have X number of days to practice. So we'll start our first practice on that Monday, the 2nd.
Did you have to sell that to people, or how did you guys get to that?
To what?
To the whole vaccine?
Obviously the players that were from last year had gone through everything they had gone through, and I wasn't part of that. So I've really kind of remained on the outside looking in. As coaches, we got vaccinated or had the opportunity to be vaccinated, and then I think the overriding, independent of what your thoughts are, if you were involved in contact tracing, that takes you out of the building for an extended period of time. And I think that was the driving force for a lot of our coaches and players is you didn't want to be removed. We all don't want to get it, right? As soon as we hear the word, nobody wants to have that happen, but the fact that there are so many players' lives that were affected when they were involved in tracing and didn't have it. We had guys miss 3-4 weeks in a row just because they were constantly involved in tracing. Same way with coaches. So that's probably the driving force more than anything. We didn't mandate, we didn't require, let it be their decision, and obviously that decision only.
I know last year you weren't involved in the college game when the season started, but it's a lot different this year.
Yeah.
I think getting more back to normal. What do you assess as going into training camp as the underlying factor this year as opposed to last year?
Well, as it was brought up, right, there's some certain rules, the NCAA now, so we can't actually have pads on until day 6. So we won't actually have our full first padded practice till that Saturday. We'll have our first scrimmage that following Monday, right? So in between there, we'll have a day off on that Sunday. So there's some logistical things. I get it. The outside world thinks it is a big deal, but they're really more NFL-driven practice rules than anything when I'm looking at it. X number of padded practices, X number of half-pack, X number of spiders, only practice a certain amount of time, certain things you can't do, certain drills you can't do. That's been my world the last 3 years. So probably a unique advantage that I have bringing that in, but also, over time, there's some things that have changed, in college football. And then for me, even just simple rules, right? Things that you guys probably have caught on. I'm really big on situational football and knowing the rules, knowing the game. So we constantly preach that to our guys. So with Bill Carollo, who's the director of officials here in the conference, John O'Neill, who is my liaison to that office, we have constant communication just about the rules and the application and the effect it has on the game. That's been a big one. So I'm kind of liking, during camp, we don't really have restrictions. as far as time allotments. We have certain things and guidelines, but it's a lot of football consumed in every day. They're basically walking in the building at 6 in the morning and out the building at almost 10 o'clock at night. So there's a lot of great football.
Well, you
return
talked a
of
lot
full-
about having super seniors
Yeah.
and having a lot of experience, and how you think that will help you, I guess, continue to make that transition and I guess lay the foundation, because these guys aren't going to be able to come back. Well, some of them will, but just to have those older guys here to lay that foundation going forward.
It's a great point. I look at it this way, right? The great news, we got 40 seniors. The bad news is we got 40 seniors, right? Hopefully it's great during the season. The bad is after they're gone, correct? And those aren't all scholarship players, not all guys that have been all Big Ten. They're guys that are just chemistry guys. But, I can just go literally at every position and have a super senior that just means so much. I mentioned the lads, right? Our 2 kickers, right? That 2 guys that, are very unique in their fact they're born in another country, but now have come here and have great success. Pair them together. At the offensive line, to have 3 guys here that are super seniors at the University of Illinois, how long so much chemistry in the offensive line play to have that. Defensive line, outside linebackers, Owen and Isaiah, to have Jake Hansen return right after he went into the NFL training world for 6 weeks, to have him return and have, not obviously he's a great player and all that goes into it, but when I saw him command his presence this summer in a couple workouts, just that's invaluable. But on the same account, now you got to continue to develop your younger roster, the transfer portal. I think it's just a really fun time. We got 15 practices, but we've added some transfers now. Right, we'll have a roster right around 120 players when we report to fall camp, and that's probably what I'm going to concentrate more than anything.
Brett, you seem to really embrace this part of the job.
Mhm.
The media. I don't know how much enjoyment is it, but how do you approach this weekend? Is it just that approach?
I think all of us learned early in life, right? If you walk into something with an expectation you're not going to enjoy it, it's probably going to be a lot of fun, right? So I do look forward to these days. I look forward to seeing people. But I also, think you always want to make, we met with our players a lot, right? We met with them, I met with them for about 2 hours on Monday night, not telling them what to say, but just giving them samples, ideas, suggestions. I know a lot of you got the email, right? So Bret Moore is going to be our point of contact now. But Kent brings an unbelievable wealth of experience and value for me as a head coach, and to kind of use that and share with the kids what they might see. Pat Pearson, who's been in a role similar to that, who now works in our football office, to just give these guys an understanding. I shot him a text, I shot him a text, but it was off social media. I saw a player at SEC Media Day who just absolutely just kicked the tail out of an interview opportunity that he had, and how much that can build your brand in this world of NILs, how invaluable that is. So, and you know what, the bottom line thing that I look at every day, Jeremy, like we want people in the stadium, right? And people watch media, right? And if I could have one message, I want Memorial Stadium to be capacity for a reason. They deserve it as players and coaches and fans, but the state of Illinois deserves it, right? The people that make our communities, to have something to rally behind and be proud of, that's a big deal.
You called a return.
You mentioned that you anticipate
I'll get you.
the injured players would be ready to go with ball camp. Outside of Mark, are you guys still on that?
I do. I think there'll be some guys that will have limitations, but there isn't really one guy that right now shouldn't be. They might be modified or maintenance. We'll call it maintenance. It's an NFL term, but it's usually somebody that, like a guy like Mike Epstein, right? Who's going to be cleared to practice, but we'll want to have maintenance on what he can do so we don't bring him back. I first learned it with Joe Thomas, 15 years ago, right? To a guy coming back off ACL that you knew was a really good player. Poucho's doing the same almost type of plan, all right, that it goes into. So really excited because, talking with JB, our trainer, I think everybody should be at full capacity.
You talk about kind of this being a full circle moment for you.
Yeah.
Can you just kind of describe the emotional change between getting the job, moving home, and now kind of being here and kind of really starting out the season?
It's awesome. We came over last night, so when I left yesterday, it was like 4:30 in the morning. I gave my wife a kiss in the bed and just kind of grabbed her hand, and she said something that gotcha, So that part's awesome, but just to be able to come back, see. I bumped into Scott Frost right when we pulled in, right? And I remember Scott. He came and visited me when he was at the university, when I was at Wisconsin as an assistant coach, right? To have those moments of reconnection. Saw Fitz, James, just to reconnect with guys that have been a part of my past and are really, I'm competing against them. I get it, but we're in this profession for a reason, to change young men's lives, right? And that's the part that's cool.
What did she say to you?
Just proud of you. One of those comments. She didn't say a lot at 4:30. She's not a morning person, but it was all good.
What's the biggest difference in your program now compared to where it was when you first took it over?
You mean just at
In
Illinois
general,
in
I
the
mean,
6
where have
months?
you seen the biggest growth?
You know, I like the accountability that they've shown away from the game, right? So the NCAA allows us only to have 20 hours with these guys, right? But it's going to be the next, 5 hours after they leave our building that's going to determine our success. How do they eat? How do they sleep? How do they rest? How do they recover? Who do they do that with? How are they spending their time? What do they do on our day off? Like all this accountability that I don't think they'd ever really thought about. And to see, I'll come over on a Sunday afternoon with my daughter, like to maybe run around, and I'll see 20 guys in the building, and I'm just like, I think that speaks volumes of who they are. So I think that part away from the game. Now they've done really good in the classroom. We set another academic standard that is really high. The way they've handled everything from the academics to COVID and all that stuff, it's been really positive.
Right, you got
So last question here,
two
guys.
of the big guys obviously represent you here in Indy, but how much of a luxury is it to have that offensive line stability and to have that be one of the
So
strengths of this
3 big guys, right? OC's pretty big as well.
offensive,
We hopped in the car last night and I realized I probably should have had a bigger car. But
You all spaced together?
yeah, we did. I was driving, had OC in the seat next to me, and V and Kramer in the back, and Pat was in the shotgun way back. But the part that I believe in is right. Things are going to be won, right? Like, believe me, it's not going to be the offense you've seen me run in the past. It's going to be something similar to what you kind of saw in the spring game, but it's going to be won on how we play up front. And I wanted our guys to know that I take 3 guys, and I use this in recruiting, right? Like, I'm going to bring big people with me because that's the way games are won. Not saying that I'm not going to bring a quarterback or a wide receiver or a DB at some point, but especially out of the gate here, I think these guys represent. And since I got here, like Doug Kramer was literally one of the first guys to tell me, "Coach, I'm in." And V. Lowe was 10 minutes later, and then Palcho was 5 minutes after that, and then OC kind of had to massage and get through. But I thought those guys represented what, to your point, what we are since I've come, right? And I meant this earlier. I said it for in front of the media, national media. There, like Lovey did a really nice job recruiting a group of guys. Obviously, no one was happy with how things played out, but those kids care about Illinois. They could have went to other places. I think they want to represent it. The number one driving force for them is they feel that they want to leave this place better than when they got here, and I think that's the big thing.